All right, so picture this. February 7th and 8th in Kuala Lumpur. On the surface, it looks like just another state visit. You know, the usual handshakes, the photo ops, but what was really happening underneath all of that was a fundamental shift in the power dynamics of Asia. A deal was signed that wasn't just about friendship. It was about a partnership built around one of the most powerful fighter jets in the world. So, a routine visit, a simple maintenance deal. How on earth does that get called a masterpiece of statecraft? And why would fixing a few jet engines in Malaysia make people in Beijing nervous? Well, the answer isn't about what is being fixed. It's about who is doing the fixing, and more importantly, what comes with it. To really get what's going on, you have to understand the hardware. Both India and Malaysia fly versions of the same incredible Russian jet, the SU30. I mean, this thing is the absolute backbone of both of their air forces. India has its own customized version, the Su-30 MKI, that it's been building for years. Malaysia flies the Su-30 MKM, basically a close cousin. This shared DNA, this common platform, is the key to everything. Now, for years, Malaysia has had a huge problem, a critical vulnerability. See, to keep these amazing jets in the air, they had to rely on Moscow. But with the war in Ukraine and all the crushing sanctions on Russia's defense industry, that supply line has turned into a total nightmare. Trying to get spare parts or technical support, it's a massive geopolitical headache, and no Air Force can afford that kind of uncertainty. And this is where the whole strategic map just gets redrawn, because India enters the picture. And unlike pretty much everyone else who flies Russian jets, India doesn't just buy them. Through their company Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, HAL, India builds them. They make them, they upgrade them, they have mastered every single nut, bolt, and circuit board on this machine. 70%. Just think about that number for a second. That's how much of its own Sukhoi fleet India has managed to build locally. We're not talking about just making a few spare parts. We're talking about a deep, fundamental understanding of the entire system. So for Malaysia, who's looking for a partner they can count on, the choice suddenly became crystal clear. They didn't need to look to a sanctioned, unreliable Moscow. They could just look east to their neighbor in New Delhi. And that brings us to the core idea behind this whole deal. It's a concept that people are calling a masterpiece, service diplomacy. This isn't just about selling a piece of military gear one time. No, service diplomacy is more like a long-term marriage. By taking over the maintenance and overhaul of Malaysia's most important military asset, India is weaving itself into the very fabric of Malaysia's national security for decades. And you've got to understand how different this is. A normal transactional sale is short. You sell a missile, you cash the check, you go home. But service diplomacy, that's all about deep integration and long-term influence. It creates a relationship, a bond of trust that a simple hardware sale could never, ever achieve. So what does India get out of this? Well, the benefits are stacked. First, you get interoperability. When your engineers and pilots are basically working from the same playbook, your air forces can operate together seamlessly if a crisis hits. Second, you get strategic leverage. India just made itself essential to Malaysia's defense. That is real power. And third, it's a huge new source of revenue. India is shifting from just being a buyer of weapons to a global provider of defense services. But hold on, because this is where the story takes a fascinating turn. This whole maintenance deal, it's brilliant, yes, but it's also the perfect cover. It's the perfect logistical and political excuse for something way more powerful. There's a force multiplier baked into this agreement, a secret weapon that's been hiding in plain sight the whole time. And that secret? It has a name, BrahMos A. The A stands for air-launched. And this missile? This missile is the real reason this deal is completely rewriting the rules in the South China Sea. To put it simply, the BrahMos is an absolute beast. It's the fastest supersonic cruise missile on the planet, one that India has already fitted onto its own Su-30s. It flies so fast that for a warship, the time from when you detect it to the moment of impact is terrifyingly short. With a range of up to 450 kilometers, it is a stone-cold killer of naval targets. Okay, now just picture this for a second. A Malaysian Sukhoi takes off, heads out over the South China Sea. Now armed with a BrahMos, it can target and destroy a major enemy warship from hundreds of kilometers away, long before that ship's defenses could ever hope to react. All of a sudden, China's naval planners have a massive new problem to solve. Their fleets are now vulnerable to a fast, mobile, and deadly threat from a country they probably weren't losing much sleep over until now. So why would Malaysia do this, right? Why risk poking the dragon next door? This quote really gets to the heart of it. For years, Malaysia has been trying to do this delicate dance, balancing its huge economic relationship with China against Beijing's growing ambitions. This is Malaysia's declaration of strategic independence. It's them saying loud and clear, we want balance. We will not live in a future where one power calls all the shots in Asia. And this is what that beautiful balancing act looks like in practice. China, still a massive economic partner, that's not going away. The United States, still the traditional security partner in the background. But now you have this powerful new third pillar, India, providing cutting-edge defense tech and strategic partnership, but without all the political baggage that might come with getting even closer to the US. It's honestly a masterclass in diplomacy. And don't think for a second this is a one-way street. It's not just India doing Malaysia a favor. While India is providing the hardware, Malaysia is returning the favor with crucial diplomatic muscle. They're going to back India's chairmanship of BRICS, and they're supporting India's long-term goal of getting a permanent seat on the UN Security Council. What we're watching right now is the birth of a brand new, very influential axis of middle powers. And if you think this whole story is just about geopolitics, fighter jets, and missiles, you are missing half the picture. The defense deal got all the headlines, sure, but the other agreements they signed at the same time, they're going to tie these two countries together in ways that are much deeper and maybe impossible to break. I mean, just look at this. This is what we mean by total diplomacy. They signed a pact on semiconductors, linking India's ambitions with Malaysia's current expertise. They're integrating their digital payment systems, India's UPI and Malaysia's PayNet, creating a financial link that operates outside the old Western systems, agreements on healthcare, on disaster management. It's a complete 360-degree integration of two of the most important economies in Asia. So what's the big takeaway from all this? What's the bottom line? This deal marks a huge evolution in India's foreign policy. For years, the mantra was Act East. Just engage more with the region. That's changed. Now it's about building, manufacturing, and integrating in the East. It's Produce East. It's India's vision of Make in India, Make for the World playing out in real time. And that leaves us right here with some massive questions on the table. This whole deal proves that the future of the Indo-Pacific is not some simple two-player game between Washington and Beijing. There are other major players emerging. So how will China react when its naval power is suddenly challenged by a BrahMos-armed Malaysia? And maybe the biggest question of all, is this the blueprint for India to become the go-to security partner for an entire region that's desperately looking for balance? The game has changed,